Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to a day that will hopefully be able to get us excited about changing the world and making it a little bit of a better place for everybody. My name is Ivana Kalifatic. I am the founder and partner of Detroitisit. And we are all about telling the stories of Detroit. We are thrilled to welcome you to the second annual Sustainable Urban Design Summit taking place in Detroit. And for those of us that are here, the Madison Building, for those of us that are joining virtually online on Zoom. And so just to give you a little bit of a quick background, this sort of started off of that idea, they say like off a cocktail napkin, crazy things happen. Well, that's how this happened. We had a chance to meet with the Kingdom of the Netherlands and their expert on water a couple years ago, and just started thinking, wouldn't it be interesting to align sustainability within Detroit and sustainability within the Netherlands in one storyline and pull in innovative mindsets from the Dutch perspective and from the Detroit perspective and align them here, both in Detroit and virtually internationally. So that's how this started about 4 or 5 years ago. And as I mentioned, this is the second one. So I wanted to let you know that we've got some great partners that we're working with. One of them is our partner in crime, which is the Consulate General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And we are also aligned with Dutch Design Week, which takes place later this month. So please make sure to check them out. We're going to be having probably a little over 30 speakers throughout the day today. We've got 6 to 7 exciting panels. The day's going to be moving pretty quickly. And for those that are here in person, we've got a great lunch, 1 to 2. So for those that are watching virtually, just know that we will be enjoying a farm to table lunch. Hopefully you'll be with us next year in person. So just to share a little bit more about what's going to happen today. We've got Dutch and U.S. architects, urban planners, neighborhood programmers, business owners, government leaders, and educators that are going to be sharing their ideas on sustainability, equitable cities and neighborhoods and communities, and how we can together join in on building exciting urban centers. So as I shared when we started speaking today, we're really big believers in figuring out how can we take architecture and design to help all of us think through strategically better alternatives for a more exciting, more equitable, and more sustainable city for us to live in. Yeah, I think that that's a really good place for us to move into my introduction to our partner in crime and our other half in this that is with us from the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the Consulate General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Chicago. And I'd like to introduce you to Andrea van der Grinten, and she will have a little bit of an introduction for us on their behalf. Welcome, Andrea.
Yeah. Thank you, Ivana, and welcome to all. I have the honor to welcome you on behalf of the Consulate General in Chicago. And thank you for joining us here at the Sustainable Urban Design Summit. Thanks to our partners, Detroitisit and Dutch Design Week, and all the panelists. I will keep it short because I look forward to hearing from the experts. But just quickly, if you look at the big picture, Dutch-American trade and investment supports more than 40,000 jobs in Michigan, and in business, innovation, and in culture, the partnership between the Netherlands and Michigan enriches us both. Just look at recent examples such as the Piet Oudolf Garden at Belle Isle and the Van Gogh exhibit at the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Art. So I think this is a great opportunity in bringing together Dutch sustainability expertise, creativity, and holistic planning with the energy, inventiveness, and ingenuity of Detroit. And we hope that this sustainable urban design dialogue will continue in the future and push forward progressive thinking and identify new solutions on climate, circularity, sustainable urban design. So in all, from Eastern Market to Eindhoven, cooperation between the US and the Netherlands will help build sustainable cities of tomorrow. And yeah, again, the sustainable dialogue, urban dialogue is a focal point of the Netherlands and also the US Dutch network at large. So thank you again, and I look forward to hearing from the experts.
Thanks, Andrea. So I'd also want to thank those that made this possible. We're thrilled for our partners and sponsors, and we were lucky enough to work with Bedrock Detroit and also with Sustainable Business Network Detroit. And we've got support through Box Water that you're enjoying today, and Moy Furniture, Dutch furniture brand, and also Ital Casa. So welcome. I'm going to introduce our panelists for our first panel. So coming on is Mr. Antoine Bryant, that is the Director of Planning for the City of Detroit. Olga Stella, VP Strategy and Communications at College for Creative Studies, and Rob Adams at the Embassy of Mobility for the Dutch Design Foundation. Welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, Ivana. Thank you all for coming out to hang out with us for a wonderful day of design and sustainability. It's a beautiful time to be here in Detroit. Phenomenal welcome to our dear friends from across the pond, and we're glad to have them here. And we're going to jump right into why it's important to focus on design and sustainability. Rob, I want to make sure I say that right. I practiced. I tried to practice.
You practiced. You did it very well.
You know, it's funny because in many respects, many of us here see the Netherlands and see our Dutch colleagues and design as synonymous. You know, we think of design, we automatically, in many respects, begin to think of the Dutch. But when you and I talked, you said there's a phenomenal room for growth, and that's what your organization really does focus on. Please help us understand why design is so very important, but why there's still room for growth and for highlighting the professionals there in that space.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for being in Detroit. But there's a lot of space for design because a lot of people think of design still as aesthetics, this chair, how this looks like. But it's not about aesthetics. It's about provoking the status quo. It's about not only provoking, but it's also about coming up with new ideas, because of course we are in a state of time in which just improving doesn't help. If we improve the way we did things, I think we still end up with a big crisis. So we need to renew. And I think design comes in for new perspectives. And there's a lot of, so if you think about innovation just as improving, well, everyone thinks I can improve because I know the system, I can add and improve a little. But this is no time for improving anymore. We need new thoughts. So therefore, you need to provoke the status quo and challenge the dominant logic, because the dominant logic is quite rigid in the Netherlands in the fixed way of thinking. Okay, we need to do a little bit about sustainability, but we've got other things to do also. I think you should really focus on sustainability.
So we're going to have the focus on sustainability. We're going to have the focus on provoking new thought and really trying to push the envelope. Olga, let's talk about what we're doing in Detroit. How can design help provoke new thought to change things here in Detroit and really push the envelope to take us to a new place?
Yeah, so it's, I think, something that Detroiters know well, because we've designed out of necessity. You know, many people here in the city, the ethos and the kind of culture of the city is about problem solving and solving problems at a block level, at a lot level, not necessarily waiting for the government or big business to come in and provide those solutions. And so, you know, I'm kind of looking out into the crowd and I see all kinds of, you know, designers and problem solvers who are doing this every day, whether it's trying to disrupt the apparel industry or taking old buildings and turning them into useful products, or thinking about different ways that we can use vacant land for productive use. Designers are, you know, working hand in hand with community members. And I think that's part of what makes Detroit special, is that it's much more from a bottom up as opposed to a top down. And I think there's a lot that the rest of the world can learn about what it really means to tap into different kinds of expertise, not just maybe formalized expertise, you know, kind of technocratic expertise to create the solutions that we need for the future.
I like the way you talked about it's very diverse in its approach, but also it involves various parts of the population. And that's something that we get to promote, the egalitarian nature of design. Now, what I need both of you to tell me is how we tie it to sustainability. I need you to make that make sense. This is the Sustainable Urban Design Summit, where we're looking at how design can really push sustainability and make us both our nations and our cities benefit from that. You know, it'll talk about why there's a relationship between sustainability and design.
I think there's a big relationship because, of course, we need to become sustainable. It's no yes or no. Climate change is happening, so we need.
Are you sure? Change the thing.
I think I'm. I think I'm sure. I think I'm sure. But I wasn't there 1,000 years ago. But I think things change. But we need to, and therefore we need a different way of thinking, because we came to this crisis based on the fixed way of thinking and planning. From a government point of view, we think we can control a lot of stuff. But you cannot control. Things are happening. And I think designers need to come in to bring in other ways of thinking. But I don't think designers can do it on their own, because you need collaboration with people and with governments, with companies and so on. And therefore, what Dutch Design Week and Dutch Design Foundation is doing is building a platform for designers, show what designers can do. And during the Dutch Design Week, more than 200,000 people before COVID came and visit Eindhoven to look to the ideas and thought of designers, and not about aesthetics, but about the big challenges we have based on how to have a different urban mobility system, how to come up with the water. Water is going to be a big problem. Energy is a problem. I think in these times you can have 10 or even more crises. So building this platform, showing what designers can do, show what different thinking can add to, that's important. And then you need to collaborate with others, because designers cannot do it on their own. But what designers can do is provoke, come up with different kind of ideas. And really great designers are not just great in provoking, because that's something for a stand-up comedian, just to provoke and don't come up with new ideas, but bring in new ideas and drive experiments and show that it's actually possible. That's what great designers can do. But they need a platform too, because in my opinion, in the Netherlands still, but in Europe, design is being seen as the aesthetics of this chair too often, or just as product design. But you can also design for the different urban mobility system.
I appreciate the part you said about the designers need a platform. I'm sure there's a bunch of designers that will chafe at your point about designers can't figure it all out by themselves, right? But as a designer by education, but a government by paycheck, I guess, you know, I understand and appreciate the need for collaboration. I think that, Olga, I would love to hear more about how you're seeing design collaborate with other disciplines to really make a change in sustainability and how we address resiliency, and, you know, just the overarching need for how design touches so many different parts of our lives here in the States.
Yeah, so I might, I think sometimes when we use the word sustainability, we're thinking about, you know, environmental issues writ large. And I think when I think about sustainability in the Detroit context, more about a scarcity of resources, or a limit to the resources that we have available. And so some of those resources might be, they're definitely not land, but they could be, they could be, clean water or clean air. And they could very well be the kinds of materials or systems that we need to have a good and happy life. And that's where I think designers have worked with, especially with community residents, to understand what, so I think this idea of like, who has the solutions? And we all bring pieces of a solution together. And so in a neighborhood, the Detroit Future City initiative has a program called A Little About Lots. And so that's a great example of where, community residents, neighbors have vacant land in their neighborhood. Designers might have the technical expertise around landscape architecture or, how to get the water to flow away from the building, those kinds of things, right? Very specific applications. The residents in the area know kind of what it is that they need and want. Do they want a productive land use that might be more agricultural, like an urban garden? Are they looking for something that is more aesthetically pleasing? Are they looking for a place for children to play? And then designers can help bring that vision to life with the tools that they have in place. I think it's the same thing, whether it's a product, and so Jen Guarino is here from Isaac, and you'll hear later from her today, but this idea of, we don't value talent in the ecosystem all at the same level. And so the way that Isaac is working with workers to bring their talents, whether it might be from the production line, how those production line talents might flow up into creating better products and more sustainable products for the future. Because at some point, the way that we make the clothes that we wear, we're not going to be able to do it anymore in this way. So I think this idea of Detroit is really good at scarcity, unfortunately. Like I don't know anyone here for, at least the last 20 years. I mean, my time starts about 20 years ago in the city. I don't know anyone who's ever been like, wow, there's an abundance of resources. We can do whatever we want. Everyone is, well, there's some things that we have maybe more access to, like land, the capital and the materials and those things, that's where local expertise and know-how from a variety of places and designers, has come together to figure out how to create, specific solutions to challenges.
Olga, you talked a lot about the relevance of design and our residents and how we connect them to it, and how it also can be intergenerational, right? Where it's important that we not only are respecting the ones that are kind of our generation, but also we're working with young people, we're working with some of our seniors. Let's tease that out a bit more. Both of you are adept at ensuring that designers are being connected to the communities that they serve. Why is that important? And how can we even, if we probably have some designers in the room that would love to do more work in their communities as opposed to their, white box of their firm or their organization. Why is that important and how can we even connect them even more?
I mean, I'm happy to start. Yeah, I think so for the last 6 years, I've been at the College of Creative Studies, and the majority of the time there was at an organization called Design Core Detroit, which is part of the college and is the steward of Detroit's UNESCO City of Design designation. And like the heartbeat of that designation is about inclusive design. So this idea that if the people who are most excluded from design aren't part of the design solution, you're not going to create the kind of benefits that you hope. You don't actually end up really tackling inequity if you continue to design for people as opposed to having people who are excluded actually be part of the design process. And so, I think everyone has a part to play in that. And there's so many different initiatives in Detroit, whether it's Merit Goodness or what Pencil Lewis College is trying to do to try to help more, or CCS's own community arts partnership, which is, really trying to connect young people, to expand the variety of tools that they have at their disposal to be the future problem solvers that we all need them to be. But the elders in our community also do that. They're the stalwarts, right, who've kept some of these neighborhoods going for years and years. So I think, I think there's a role for everyone. I think it's really about how people are invited, whether we build trust, and really, we can say these words, but if we don't have rooms and we don't have places where people really feel like they're really invited, where they can trust the people who are inviting them, where what they're doing is building on something and not extractive, like that is, you can like pick a problem and you can, but it's the human part of it that I think takes a long time. And so it's a lot of what we've worked on is just trying to bring people together to work on these things and recognize that it takes a long time to build those kinds of trusting relationships, and that you can't assume that people are going to believe in your good intentions when you're coming in on your white horse to save them. Like, no one actually wants that because people can save themselves. And especially that's, I think, very much the thing here in Detroit is people here, they know what what needs to happen, but they often don't have are the resources to make it happen. And so I think creating those spaces where there's respect and trust is really important.
It's important to have those spaces, but I heard in the Netherlands, it's much simpler and much easier, right? So there's no problem whatsoever at all, right? You can tell us, right?
No, there are no problems in the Netherlands. It's an easy life. No, but if you think from design, I think you can look to it from two different angles. One is indeed working together with people to solve their issues, but to solve the shark bites instead of the mosquito bites, because people can solve the mosquito bite by themselves. I can do it by my own, but sometimes in this system, you need to drive big change. So that's what I'd like to call a shark bite. If a shark would have bitten me this morning, not a big chance to be over here in Detroit, but I would have said, bring me to the hospital. I've got better things to do. If a mosquito would have bitten me, I would have done this. So I think designers should be great in doing research and deciphering whether or not you try to solve a shark bite or a mosquito bite. That's from people, from collaboration together with people. But I think design should also bring in new ideas. People don't ask for or don't know they have this problem yet, or are not aware of this big problem. Like in Paris, they're kicking out all the cars. I know that's different from a Detroit. This is an automotive city, but they are thinking, how can we add to the quality of life? How can we build an urban, sustainable city that adds to the quality of life and to the happiness of people? And I think we talk a lot about smart cities. And to be honest, I dislike the term smart because smart means technology, deploying technology, making everything more efficient. And I don't think life is about efficiency. I think if I might become 80, I look back upon my life as having led the most efficient life ever. I think I did something wrong.
Right.
But in designing cities, we do everything for efficiency, data-driven, and we are deploying. And I'm not anti-technology. I love technology, but just deploying technology for the sake of deploying technology and getting data, that's not what a city should aim for. It's about how can we use technology and how can we use data to build a society, to build a city that actually makes people happy. And I don't mean happiness from a hippie point of view, like saying kumbaya with my guitar around fire. That's not what I'm saying. But I think also for this, the war on talent for cities in the future, you need talented people to work in your city with the companies in your city. So if you don't have a vibrant city that adds to the quality of life, you might have a problem as a city of bringing in companies and also making sure that people are willing to live there.
I love it.
And that's where design also comes in, thinking from this broad perspective, what is the bold vision, where do we want to go to, and how can we use technology? Because technologies need not an end state, it's a means to an end. And I think this talking about smart, I'll get...
You were chomping at the bit, Olga.
Yeah. So spent a long time kind of working in traditional economic development. And And so there's this push-pull, right, around new investment and retention. So I will say my kind of, I think if we don't invest in we have the talent in our cities already.
Yes. Yeah.
What we have, you're welcome. I mean, it's a truth. What we don't have is the opportunities always to unlock that, to unlock the potential of that talent. So I think about, the children go to school in Detroit, and so I just think about like the resources that their school has, and are the brilliance of the children all around them. But are we really tapping into the potential of each one of those children? Or are we, kind of building the, kind of falling into the same kinds of patterns that maybe got us here in the first place? And so, I think we have to really look inward, and when we look inward and support the things that are working in our hometowns, then we find those innovations, and we find those innovations maybe somebody else can learn from, and maybe people want to come and be part of it. But I do think we have the solutions. What we don't often have is maybe it's technical expertise that needs to bring those solutions to another level. Maybe it's the capital. Maybe it's access to tools or some other kinds of resources. But I don't think I've lived in Detroit now for over 20 years, and I think there's big plays that have big infrastructure investments, like the DeQuinder Cut or the riverfront, or those kinds of things that are really about creating infrastructure that lots of people can participate in. And those are extremely important. And we need the public sector to do more of that. Like the Joe Louis Greenway is an amazing opportunity to do a lot, right, for quality of life and supporting just like a good life in Detroit. But we also just need to find more ways to deploy small resources to people who are doing things, and believing in the power of those people. Like I credit, Tech Town. I was in some conversations the last couple of days. We were talking about tech entrepreneurship, and and can there be equity in tech entrepreneurship? And I was kind of like, just go to Tech Town, where they just had a whole event celebrating Black and brown tech startups. So if we want to do something, we can do it, but we have to name what those goals are, and bring the resources to them.
Olga's been looking at my cheat sheet, so I do have to apologize, because we do have to honor the fact that we have a tremendous pool of talent in many of our municipalities. Usually the key is access and or exposure, right? So those young people, some of those seniors may have great ideas, but they're not exposed to the right people to make those ideas manifest, or they may not have access to the kinds of opportunities or the kinds of relationships that can move things forward. And so if we can move that goalpost a little bit closer, then we can make these things happen. This is the time where we're gonna, I asked a big question, right? I'm gonna ask each of you, dun, dun, dun. You have to have a big idea question. But what's fascinating, what's fascinating about design, and I loved both of your commentary about how it's an opportunity to move things past provocation into actual reality. But with design, when done well, is kind of messy. Right? It's not nearly as neat and as ordered as even the finished product may appear. The process, when you went to design school, they always wanted they want to see your process.
Right.
Sometimes they could care less about the final, right? They want to see what your process is. And I see cities like that, right? A vibrant city, as you talked so eloquently about, is really bringing all of these activities together and all these ideas together. It's not going to be, I look back and I had an efficient life, right? We learn so much, we grow so much by some of the funky things that happen in our lives. And so with that kind of an entry, and then I'll talk some more after I big the big question so you can think, right? Because what big idea would you want to see manifest in your municipalities that is going to take some time and some resources to push? Because I think as designers and as design aficionados, there's always that one thing that we know would make a groundswell of change with the residents and with the people that we know and love and work with, but it's not getting the support and push that it needs. And so for each of you, there's something that you go to bed at night and you're like, if we can get this done, it would be ground changing. It would be just something in our areas. And so let's hear about that, because we got a room full of smart people here that may be able to assist us with getting those things done. So what's the one big thing?
For me, the one big thing, well, you talked about the scarcity of but there's an abundance of space over here. There's no abundance of space in the city like I'm living in Eindhoven, in South, or in Amsterdam. We are the buildings are 6 meters from each other. So the strange thing is, if I look to the street I'm living in, the street is 16 meters. Sorry, I'm not familiar with inches and so, but it's 60 meters wide. It's 2 meters on both sides are for me and my kids and my family to walk. Then we've got 2 and 2 meters for cars to park, and the other is for cars to drive. Wow. Around, if I would design a house based on the specifications of Dutch cities, about 70 or 80% would be a garage.
Wow.
That's crazy. So about 70 or 80% of public space over here in the Netherlands, but also in France, in Germany, it's taken over for cars. Mm-hmm. And that's silly. I have to train my small boy saying, don't run out of the house because cars are driving there. Mm-hmm. Right. We should say to the cars, don't drive here because kids are playing here.
That's awesome.
I think that makes more sense. Yeah. And what I'm going to bed with, and once I hope I awake, we did it, is to give back public space to people, to creativity, because that's what cities once were for. Mm-hmm. But we are designing cities, or we did design cities for efficiency. So when the car came, it needed to get in the center, out of the center, to have even a more efficient life, because then I can be on my time to work, and then I need to consume because I need to get the companies, and they need my money. So we need to rethink public space. And if we rethink public space, and instead of 70% or 80% for cars, just 20%, and put it in a hub. And we are now driving this project. What is going to start in which we are saying to streets in the city where I live in, we are going to build gardens in front of your house, so you don't look at a car anymore. You look, cars can only use 20%, so you can drop your grocery or pick someone up. So cars can come in, but you park it somewhere else. The only thing we are asking is, are you willing to park your car somewhere else? You get a garden in front of you. You can sit in front of your house, meet other people, socially, more connectivity.
Crazy.
Yes, it is crazy, but we are going to do it. And what I think, from a design perspective, you cannot say you must park your car over there, because at least to Dutch people, you say you must do that. There's one thing for sure: they're not going to do it. So you need to add to the quality of life. So we're saying you can have your garden, you meet people, your kids can play outside. The only thing you need to do is park your car somewhere else. Are you willing to do that? So that's what I'm aiming for, to not have a house for 80% the garage. I need a house for just 10, 15% the garage, and the rest should be for quality of life, for people, creativity, being outside. That's where cities started from.
I'm going to package all of that, and when I have my next presentation at City Council and I do a road diet and cut a lane out, I'm going to talk about this, right? I'm going to say, look, everybody's doing it. It's okay. So
crazy people are doing this.
Hopefully you guys will clap for us when I do that, and I won't get people yelling at me. But no, Olga.
Come and support you.
Thank you. All right, great. There we go. All right, there we go. Asha,
room of road diet supporters right here.
it's okay to park your car 50 feet away. It will not kill you. I promise you. You'll get your steps in. It's all good. There we go. Great idea, Olga. It's a big one.
Yeah. So I think I go back to people being the
crazy talk again.
People. And I think my big idea would be that every school in Detroit is providing the kind of everything that a child needs to be sitting in this room someday, to be creating the next great product, and that we're really investing in those and kids through just having the best possible schools.
That's a mom. That's clearly a mom. There we go. No, we
Yeah.
need to infuse design in all parts of our cities. And I've come to grips a long time with the fact that I'm old and my kids are young and they're going to be here longer. So we need to kind of ensure that not only are we pouring into them, but they're going to be the purveyors, the provocateurs, if you will, and the solution-oriented individuals in design for tomorrow, to making sure that it's sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Hopefully this has been, the fireside chat without the fire, to kind of get the wheels turning and everybody excited. Looking forward to our next session, and we're just so very glad to be here with you all. Thank you, guys.